Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And it is actually Wednesday, and I am pre-filming this video for Thursday, because on Thursday, we are leaving for Mexico. My husband's birthday is on Friday, so we are going to Mexico with 3 other couples to celebrate his 40th birthday, and I am very, very excited. We're going down there with my brother and sister-in-law from San Diego, one of Alex's dearest girlfriends and her boyfriend, and one of our oldest friends and his fiance, and I'm so excited. We're gonna have such a great time. They're coming down there just through the weekend, and then we're gonna stay for like an extra week, so I'm really, really excited about it. But I wanted to pre-film some videos. So in all honesty, I don't know, like this is the first of the pre-filming of the Peterisms videos, but I'm trying to pre-film for all of my channels, so I don't know what that's gonna look like, okay? I don't know if I'm gonna film this video and then just be like, okay, I'm done, I'm good. And if I'm there and I feel like, if it's raining one day and I feel like filming the Peterisms video, I might. So I don't know, I might see you when I get back, okay? So that, I just wanna let you guys know, and I want you to worry about me. Yeah, so I don't know. If I end up filming 4 Peterisms videos, then after this, you'll see 4 videos come up in the next couple days. If not, then I'll see you on the other side when I get back from Mexico. But I wanted to do one video leading me into my vacation, and also letting you guys know, because I don't like people to worry, like, why hasn't Peter posted in, you know, like a week and a half or something like that. So I didn't want you guys to worry. So I wanted to go into this. And so let's get into the meditation. Let's look at the 20th, which is tomorrow. Okay, June 20th. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Relationship martyrs. Oh, that could be an interesting one. Okay, let's look in Journey to the Heart. June 20th. Okay. Okay, let's read from language of letting go. Relationship martyrs, because I have no idea what this is going to say. Many of us who have gone so numb and discounted our feelings so completely that we have gotten out of touch with our needs in relationships. We can learn to distinguish whose company we enjoy, whether we're talking about friends, business acquaintances, dates, or spouses. We all need to interact with people we might prefer to avoid, but we don't have to force ourselves through long-term or intimate relationships with these people. We are free to choose friends, dates, spouses. We are free to choose how much time we spend with these people. We can't always choose to be around, such as relatives. This is our life. This is it. We can decide how we want to spend our days and hours. We're not enslaved, we're not trapped, and not one of us is without options. We may not see our options clearly. Although we may have to struggle through shame and learn to own our power, we can learn to spend our valuable hours and days with the people we enjoy and choose to be with. God, help me value my time in life. Help me place value on how I feel around certain people. Guide me as I learn to develop healthy, intimate, sharing relationships with people. Help me give myself the freedom to experiment, explore, and learn who I am and who I can be in my relationships. Wow. You know, it's interesting because the topic of setting boundaries and limits comes up often on this channel, right? And I talk about it all the time, about setting limits and boundaries and things like that. And I even say, you know, like it's important at times to set limits and boundaries with toxic family members and things like that, right? And whenever I say that in videos, I always have people that say to me things like, you know, like, how do you do that when you're a family and I have to take care of this person, I have to take care of my mom and things like that, right? And I actually have a friend of mine right now that's really struggling with this with her parents, and dealing with, and this is nobody that I've ever talked about online, so, but dealing with this with her parents. And I was talking to her the other night, and I was saying, you know, like, for me, with my mom, like, I really had to set some healthy boundaries for myself, but they were also for her as well, right? Like, I think that, like, the idea of setting boundaries has such a negative connotation to it that when we say we're setting boundaries with somebody, it makes it sound like they're a negative person and we have to set boundaries with them. Sometimes it might be that we absolutely love that person and we love to spend time around them. You, like, remember when you were a kid and you had, like, that friend that you played with every single day, and then your mom would say, okay, I think you guys need a break from each other. That was her setting a boundary, right? That wasn't that that person was a bad friend or you're a bad friend or you guys were bad together. It was that you guys had spent so much time together, maybe you needed some time apart, right? I remember when my husband and I first got together, and we were spending every day and every night together, every day. This is one of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned in my marriage, right? And I remember it was like, a week or two into us dating. I think it was like 2 weeks into us dating. And he was going to do something with a friend of his. And I was like, oh, what are we doing? He was like, well, I would really like to go with this friend alone tonight. Like, I haven't seen this friend and spent time alone with this friend, right? And I was kind of hurt at first, you know? And I said, oh, okay. Well, we had spent literally, like, I was driving him to work, picking him up from work. We were going to the gym together. We were watching movies together, going out to dinner together, going out to the bars, hanging out with all of our friends together, things like that. And we were spending every minute together. And I had been in a relationship before that was very suffocating. We were both suffocating of the other person. It wasn't one person to the other. We were both that way, right? And that was what I thought a healthy relationship was, that you were supposed to do everything together every minute of every day except for work, right? Like that meant true love. And so when he said that to me, my feelings were kind of hurt. I was like, Alex doesn't want to like spend it. I thought we were getting along, you know? And he said to me, he goes, are your feelings hurt? And I go, well, kind of. Like, I thought we were having a good time. He goes, I am having a good time. He goes, Peter, you aren't even giving me the option to miss you. And I go, what? And he goes, you aren't even giving me, and he said this to me a couple times at the beginning. He's like, you aren't even giving me the chance to miss you. He's like, let me miss you a little bit so I can get excited to see you again. And it was such a valuable lesson to me. I mean, it was such a valuable lesson to me, you know? And it also was valuable to me that just because I was in a relationship that looked one way didn't mean that that's how a healthy relationship was supposed to look, right? And so I think that morphed into, you know, my husband doing things with his friends, me doing things with my friends, us doing things together, us doing things with our friends together, us doing things individually, things like that, right? And that's what works for our relationship, and that's what's really healthy for our relationship. I've talked a lot about this in past videos, but with my two exes, they would always come with me when I came to visit my mom. And my mom finally said to me, and she loved both my exes. She loved both of them, especially my last ex. She got to know him better, but she really, really loved him. And she said to me one time, she's like, you know, I love him. And I mean, like, you know, the moon sets on him and he's just the nicest guy in the entire world. She was like, but I like to spend time with you alone sometimes. Like, you're my son. Like, I have a relationship with you outside of my relationship with him, like, and you together, right? Like, I'd like to spend some time with you alone. And I can remember when I first told him, like, his feelings were kind of hurt. Like, mine were with Alex, right? Like, he didn't get it. Like, your mom, is there something she wants to tell you? Is there something she wants to say? I can remember him asking these questions. I was like, no, she just wants to spend time with me alone, right? Well, Alex always invites me to go do stuff when he does stuff with his mom, right? Or his grandma or whatever. And, you know, most of the times I go. But often I will say to him, I think you need to just go and hang out with your mom tonight. You know, like I got videos to make, or I'm going to go hang out with Tanya Jean or something like that. Go hang out with your mom, right? And they have date nights about every 3 or 4 weeks. Like he and his mom will go to dinner somewhere, have a couple glasses of wine and dinner or whatever. And they have these date nights. And I think that's really, really important. And I've told his mom this because she said to me one time, she said, I noticed that like every couple times that we hang out, like you don't come along. And I said to her, I said, you know, and I told her the story about my mom. And I said, I just want you to know that I respect your time with Alex alone. I think you need that. And actually when my brother and sister-in-law got married in October, like I sat down with my sister-in-law because she was like asking me like marrying into this family and stuff, right? And I said, you know, I think that one of the things is it's really important to, you know, she's a single mother, for her to have time alone, you know, with my brother-in-law and stuff, like when he comes out and they're visit. Not the whole time, but sometimes, right? Like let him go out to a dinner, you know, together. Because I 100% agree. Because I want those things with my parents as well. See, that's where it's at, right? And so that's setting a boundary as well. And that's a healthy boundary to set. I think in life, you know, we feel like we can't set boundaries with people because that means it's like they're a bad person or a toxic person, when in actuality, it might mean that they're a very good person. We just need to have some boundaries so we understand each other. You know what I mean? Like the way that I choose to spend my time, the way that other people choose their time is very different. You know, like I love when Alex comes and hangs out with my friend Tanya and I, right? I love it. But I have to be honest with you, there's a lot of moments where Tanya and I are just together, and I love one-on-one time with my friend. Well, if I love one-on-one time with my friend, I have to assume that he loves one-on-one time with his friends too, and deserves that, and so do I, right? So those are healthy boundaries to set. Not every boundary that we set is a negative or a nasty boundary because there's toxic people in our life. Now, like the meditation referred to, there are going to be people in our lives that we don't want to spend time with, okay? One of the things that I have learned is that I can be civil to somebody. You know, I don't have to be the person's big, I don't have to, not every... I have just learned this recently. I read this on an Instagram thing. I love this so much. You don't always have to share your side of the story, right? And not every battle do I have to fight. You know, if I don't get along with somebody, I can just realize that if it's supposed to work out down the road, maybe it'll work out. I don't have to try to make it work out every single time. I can go into a social situation and be like, hey, it's good to see you, and walk away. I don't even have to say that. I can just say, hey, how are you doing? You know, I don't just say good to see you if I don't want to see him. I can just say, hey, how are you? Good. Okay. Keep on walking, right? I don't have to interact with them. You know, and I can, if things get too tense, I can always leave. Like, that is such a power to know that you can leave any situation anytime you want. And don't ever forget that you have that power. That is a very, very valuable power that you own, right? That you can leave any situation that you don't want to. You can leave yelling and screaming. You can live peacefully and calm, but you don't have to stay in a situation that's not comfortable for you. In fact, don't stay in a situation that's not comfortable for you. Why would you? But that doesn't mean that in every situation, I have, like, in my life, I look back and I'm like, oh God, I so dreaded going to this situation because this person's going to be there and I didn't want to see him, you know, or blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, I would go to it and I'd see him for 30 seconds and it was no big deal. I mean, I've been to my fair share of things where I've been there with uncomfortable people where it was uncomfortable. And I didn't leave. And what I learned was I probably should have left a lot sooner, you know? Because then I want to start telling my side of the story. And I don't always need to tell my side of the story, you know? Sometimes it's just better to, you know, coexist and be civil to somebody, right? Even if you don't get along with them. It doesn't mean that you can't show up to that thing. You don't have to sit down and have a long conversation with them. You don't even have to try to work it out. And if that person would approach you and say, you know, we're not getting along right now, can we sit down and talk? You can always say, you have the right to set the boundary of when you have that conversation. If you want to have a conversation, you go, yeah, let's go outside right now. We can have a conversation right now. Maybe you're not ready for that conversation. Maybe that's not a conversation that needs to occur for another 2 weeks or a month or 6 months. Maybe you are not therapeutically ready for that. Maybe you haven't gone to therapy. Maybe you haven't worked it through. Maybe you haven't talked to a friend about it. Maybe you're just not in a space to do it. And what you say is, you know what? Down the road, I think we can have that conversation. Give that person some hope, but say, today, I'm not in a space to have that conversation. And in fact, I don't think it would be healthy for us to have that conversation today. And I think that's a fair response. I always meet somebody where they're at, and I'm always honest with them where I am, right? Because I think that's fair. To meet somebody where they're at in their life, but be honest with where I am in my life as well, you know? And if that means having to go to an event where there's going to be somebody that I don't like, I go to things all the time where there are people from my past that I don't want to see, right? All the time. That doesn't mean that I have to be all lovey-dovey with them. I think that that's a misconception. You know, you can just be like, you don't even have to do that. But then people will be like, oh, you're being rude. Okay, well then, whatever. But it's better that I showed up and was that way and didn't talk to them than interact with them and get into a fight. You gotta make those decisions on a, you know, situation, you know, base by base situation or whatever the saying is. You know what I'm saying? But like, or what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I mean, in that situation, for me today, I don't try to go into situations, you know, with my fists raised. I try to go into situations with a smile on my face and try to be loving and kind in the way that I would want to be treated. You know, I think a lot of the things that, in the way that we can treat the world is how things we learned when I was growing up, you know? And one of the things I learned up was treat people the way that you would want to be treated. And that's what I do today when I go to things, even if it's somebody that I don't like. I'll tell you another thing that I learned about people that I don't like, and I learned this early on in sobriety, is pray for those people. Pray for your resentment to be removed. I was so resistant to this when my sponsor first had me do this. But pray for that resentment to be removed, and pray for those people to have everything in their life that they want. Because as a human being, for us to pray for other people to have the same things that we want for ourselves is to see them as human. And once you can start seeing somebody as human, you can see them as flawed, because we're flawed. If you can see that person as flawed, I'm not talking about in abusive, horrible situations, right? I'm talking about flawed human beings. And once you can see that somebody else is flawed, then you can see that we're flawed, and then you can see that we're all just human beings. That doesn't mean that you have to get along with somebody. You have every right to say, I don't want to get along with you. I don't want to have a relationship with you, okay? I don't even know that down the road, 16 years from now, I'm going to want to have a relationship with you. But today, I'm not in a space to do that. And I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just trying to tell you where it's at, okay? So I appreciate you approaching me, but I'm not good today on this, right? And this is not a conversation that I'm comfortable having at a birthday party. So let's just for out of the sake of the person whose birthday it is, let's just not. The other thing is, you cannot show up to things too. Like, that's another thing I learned, right? If I know that I'm too angry or too resentful or too frustrated, and like, I don't really ever feel that way much anymore, but back in the day, you know, I did. What I learned was, I don't have to show up to those things, you know? Then the things that I do choose, because she talks a lot about choices in here, right? I can choose what I do and how I interact. Then when I choose the things I do choose to do, then I'm really happy to be there. Like this trip in Mexico, which I'm so happy to be here. And I'm not even launched yet, but I'm so happy to be there. And I'm so excited about this group of people that we're going with. So it's going to be so much fun. And if I don't film any other videos, and I'll see you guys when I get back. I love you, and I'll see you later. Bye.